Hi, my name is Colin Snyder, and this is my cultural artifact speech. Imagine if you're able to adapt your body to enhance your abilities in the water. You can move faster and smoother in an environment that your body is not normally designed to be in. Modern day racing suits, called tech suits in the swimming world, help athletes perform at their best during competitions. And right here I have a modern day tech suit, and it looks super small, and that's because it's insanely skin tight. And they have these bands that go along the sides and the back, and they have some on the inside too, and that helps improve muscle performance and keep them in place in the water. And it also allows blood flow to your legs still, and the material is also water resistant, so if you pour water on it, it would just bead off of it. Now, a lot of these advancements has come over the past 100 years, starting with some of the first Olympics. And although for a majority of the past 100 years there has been no restrictions or like anything to slow it down, in the past 20 years alone there has been multiple restrictions, not only based on the age groups but also how much of the suit can cover the body and what the suit can do. So in 1896, this was the first Olympics with swimming in it. Came some of the first racing suits, although those were not really real racing suits as today's standards. And Lynn Hetzker, for her article on Sports Rec, talked about the racing suits as wool, and they cover the entire body, which means they were not very good for allowing athletes to have much movement or range of motion. And they were extremely heavy in the water. They weighed about 9 pounds, which is really a lot of weight to be carrying through the water. They weren't exactly racing suits. The first major improvements that were made were by Speedo in 1920, when they created a much thinner wool suit, and it allowed much more range of motion in the shoulders and hips, and it was a lot lighter. Although it wasn't a huge improvement, it was something that helped the athletes a lot. And in the 1950s, the suit size started to shrink a lot more, and men were allowed to swim bare-chested, so that means that from the waist up, they didn't have to wear anything over themselves, and they just wore the suits from the waist down, and women were allowed to show their shoulders and back. And this was a huge improvement for them because it took a lot of weight off of what they were doing. In the 1950s, they also allowed nylon and elastane, and they developed suits that were a lot lighter and they didn't absorb a lot more water, which made it a lot easier for the swimmers. And that's when Speedo created the first brief, which is just covering like the midsection of the males, and women just had the main section of their body covered. And the hugest advancement in the swimming world was in 2000, when the Speedo released the Fast Skin series. And this was a full body suit from neck to wrist to ankle, and it was made of what looked like a shark skin material. And this kind of led the water across the body in a way that helped glide through the water. And it was made with a lot of different materials like nylon and elastane. And Speedo won 83% of the medals with people wearing these suits in the 2000 Olympics. So it obviously shows that a lot of that helped. Although there was no restrictions from the beginning in 1896 up until the 2000s, in 2008, Speedo released the LZR non-textile racing suit. And Randy Shaders in the Tribune News talked about this being a non-woven suit. So what that means, it was ultrasonically welded together. Everything was put together ultrasonically, and it was helped design by NASA and the Australia Institute of Sport. And it was made out of elastane nylon and polyurethane, which was designed and tested in labs using hydrodynamic tubes. And FINA later kind of discussed the rules and stuff. FINA was in charge of monitoring like what should be allowed in swimming and what should not be allowed in swimming, and they decided that they were going to ban the suits because of how much of the body they covered and how much they improved because of how many records are being broken. Lisa Dillman in the LA Times discussed the debate of whether athletes should be able to keep the records that they broke using these suits since they were being banned. And although there was a lot of debate with it, they decided that the athletes and everything that happened before 2010 when they banned the suits should stay, and everything after that point would be changed to the new rules. Another modern day rule that happened just this year is now kids ages 12 and under will no longer be allowed to wear tech suits. They are only allowed to wear, you have to be 13 and up, and you have to be out at a competition that is allowed. So anything that's like above age group level, so anything that's in sectionals level. The development of racing suits over the past 100 years has changed the sport completely and adapted the way athletes compete. It has helped them change the way they swim, and it has rewritten the record books completely. I am very excited to see with all these new regulations and rules what a lot of the companies do next and see what they can do for the sport.